What's up, everybody? It's guubums back with another coaching video. Today we're going to be coaching a high diamond player. So if you guys are kind of like hovering around that diamond to masters LP range, this is probably going to be very, very useful for you. Otherwise, if you guys are interested in coaching yourselves, you guys can find a link to my Discord down in the description below, and all the relevant information will be there. Otherwise, if you guys like the content, please follow my socials also down in the description, and leave a like, subscribe, and maybe leave it some comments for your feedback. And yeah, without a further ado, let's try to get into the coaching session. Hey, what's up?
Yo.
Okay, so I'm looking at your profile. It looks like, we're high diamond. It's pretty good. I'm assuming your goal is generally going to be like trying to get to masters. I noticed you actually play like a pretty high variety of comps. Most of them are pretty good comps, so you're not playing any of like the bad comps. That's pretty important. But generally, just looking at your kind of like profile, it's not that important really what I'm looking at. It's just like I'm just trying to get a feel for some of like the stuff that you're playing, some of the items you're building, and it looks like generally pretty good. So, do you have anything to
Right.
add?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm exactly trying to get to masters. I mean, I thought I was gonna get there, but if you see my graph, I
Yeah.
went to D1, back to D30, so kind of losing confidence a little bit.
Yeah, and I think I think that's pretty normal to some degree, right? Just making sure you can see my screen. I'm sharing screens.
Yep.
I think that's pretty normal. Like I think like with the variance in TFT, you'll find like a lot of people, like even myself, even like top players, other rank one players, like they'll have a tier graph that looks pretty similar to what yours kind of looks like. It like you're like shooting all the way up and then shooting all the way down. Pretty much like it's because TFT is like so high variance and like so pretty much like game to game dependent. It's pretty impactful on your mental, like based on whether or not you're doing well and doing poorly. Sometimes just like a string of bad games, even if it's like bad luck or otherwise, like you're going to end up thinking like overthinking it. Pretty much without actually looking at the play, without looking at the specific games, and because no one other than yourself can really do that. It's pretty easy to kind of get in your own head. So I think it's like it's pretty safe to say like it's okay to like feel a little bit down, but I think like judging by like how you've been playing and like how some of the games have been going, like it's perfectly reasonable for you to hit masters soon. But anyways, let's get into the video. The actual VOD. Okay, loot subscription's a little bit of a non-standard portal, so kind of like what applies to this portal specifically is going to be a little bit different. You're gonna have to like think of this portal as like a high resource portal. Something similar is like maybe like Crab Rave or Scuttle Puddle, like stuff that gives you a lot of resources. Something to note in loot subscription specifically versus a lot of other kind of like high resource portals is that even though loot subscription gives you a lot of gold, a lot of resources in terms of like items, it also gives you a lot of tomes. So unlike other augments, there's not going to be that many like portals and augments in the game that give you like plus ones to traits. Obviously, XYZ Crest will give you a trait. Give you a plus one. Certain like trainer sentinels, wandering trainer, stuff like that. Will give you like emblems, but there's not that many access to emblems in the game. Loot subscription specifically, like there's a lot of variance involved, but because you can get a lot of emblems, it does actually like play into the way you should think about your game. So when you're getting like a specific resource, like I guess like a higher level way of thinking about it is that when you're getting like a lot of a different type of resource, it's like very important to like think about how to play around that. So loot subscription specifically, I mentioned emblems, but there are going to be galaxies that is like it's not just like you're getting a bunch of gold, right? Because like I mentioned Crab Rave, I've mentioned Scuttle Puddle. These gives you a lot of golden items, but there's like other augments, just like even completed item anvil or like completed Orn anvil, stuff like that. You're like it's important to like think about how you can play, set your game up in a way that you're making you the best use of like having extra resources, like say whether it be items, emblems, gold, whatever have you. So in this one, most of the time you're going to be getting items and anvils or like stuff like reforgers. It is going to be like slightly important to like think about how you play around that. I guess like a quick example is that on 2-1 and 3-2 augments is that the item augments drop down a little bit in value. So like stuff like Combat Caster becomes even stronger than it normally is, just because you're getting so many items and so much gold elsewhere. Stuff like combat augments become a lot stronger, right? That's like one way of like kind of like making use of this information. But it depends what you actually kind of see in your anvils
Right.
or
Right.
in your loot subscription.
But yeah, I think in general I can adapt to the patch pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that every single new patch, I feel like I struggle to adapt to the new meta. I think that's one of my weakest points right now. And maybe playing or recognizing a really good opener, for example, this because I usually play like really, how do you say this, linear in a way.
Yeah.
Like I only play like a couple of openings that I know is good, but sometimes I feel like I'm missing openers that are actually good on my spot, but I'm not playing.
Um. Yeah. I mean, like that's like very like to improve upon that, you just have to play a lot of games. You have to watch a lot. So like, what are like the pros playing? What is I guess they're still playing. What am I playing? What is Soju playing? Like on their openers that do well. You also have to think about like, okay, sometimes when you're watching a stream, it's like they chose this opener, and in a way it didn't work out for them. Say they didn't hit their upgrades, or they didn't hit a specific unit that kind of like glues their board together. It's like you have to think about like why they chose to go with the opener they had anyway. Sometimes obviously, like the players aren't given that much choice, so they have to like opt into one way versus the other. But sometimes like it's also important that like, okay, so say you see Dish Soap or me or whoever win streaking, like all stage 2, it's like why? How did this happen? And like what decisions did they actually make to make this happen, right? So sometimes like they make a slam, or we make a slam, and that ends up being the fight difference in like 1 out of 5 fights, and because of that one fight we get a win streak. So sometimes like you have to look at that, and then sometimes you'll see people win streaking without a slam. It's like, why did they not slam? So like that's a pretty good way of kind of like improving your opening, kind of like just like your openers in general. It's just like looking to see what other people are doing, because it's so difficult in TFT to really kind of like understand all the openers just like playing by yourself. There's such a variance of them, like one in game to game, and there's like so many variety of different openers that like are good, depending on your specific spot. It's just like so difficult to do it on your own, like figuring out what type of openers. So just like watching other people will be the best. And I do want to talk about your augment choice. So in loot subscription, it's actually really important to do this, especially I think people will kind of dodge this at higher elos, but it's still pretty relevant even at like all the way up until like rank 1, like high challenger. Is that you want to look at what other people are doing on their augment turn, because you can actually see what the first list restriction thing is, um if you see someone else doing it. So someone else might pop their whatever orb they get, and it comes out to be like a reforger, and like that might give you some information on what you want to do. It might give you gold, and that like same idea, like it might give you some information on what you do.
Right,
And
right.
yeah, the high level thing that like I'm really talking about here is just like you're trying to make your decisions with the highest with like the most information possible. So like your augment choice might actually be dependent on what that loose restriction box is. So like that's something to keep in mind. So for example, here in this case, you actually re-rolled the strongest augment in the game as a silver. This is like, I think it's the strongest one in the game. It's definitely top 3. So if you want to re-roll, like something that's really safe to re-roll always is Young, Wild, and Free. You're never taking this on 2-1. It's just terrible. And re-rolling bulk on 2-1 is also pretty easy to do. That being said, so I'll talk about this bulk augment. Is that your items are not excellent. So when your items are not excellent like this, you can actually take bulk and like spread them. It's still not as good as over encumbered, but hypothetically, like say bulk was your best option, it's a pretty reasonable one, because IE, JG, and Gunblade are none of the 3 are that good. IE is okay depending on the meta. I assuming this is played on last patch, right?
Yeah.
But IE is pretty good. So like it's fine to slam, but it's also fine not to slam, because like most of the time when you're building IE, you're also looking for stuff like Last Whisper, Deathblade, and you can build an IE later. But like Last Whisper tends to be the more important one, right? So like you can actually take bulk to spread these items, and say the pop, the loose restriction pop is like a single component, then that gives you more reason to take something like a bulk. Over encumbered in general, like if you think about it, yes, you are losing out on your early game, but like if we just go rewind back 5 seconds, is that you don't have any upgrades, and you actually don't even have any pairs. So your board for stage 2 is very likely to be weak regardless. And like this is just something that you're gonna have to train yourself to recognize, is that when you don't have upgrades, it doesn't matter how high quality your units are, bar like very very specific extenuating circumstances, such as like Tristana Volley in the first patch, you're not really going to be able to streak stage 2. It just, without upgrades, it's not possible. And the thing is, it's not that you don't have upgrades, it's that you don't even have like ability to get upgrades, because you don't even have pairs yet, right? And the thing is,
Right.
even if you were to have some of these paired, it's actually unclear what your board looks like when you have upgrades. So say like, let's say hypothetically you have an Ari pair and a Jax pair. It's like Ari pair and Jax pair have some reasonable future, in that like we might get a Jax 2 and we get an RE2. But the thing is, RE2 Jax 2 doesn't guarantee a strong board, because they don't have any synergies together, right? So like hypothetically, say you had Garen pair, Yasuo pair, it's the same idea, right? Like the likelihood that you have a strong board in the early game is relatively low. So something like over encumbered just becomes really really strong in that case. But like straight up over encumbered is an overpowered augment. It's way too like get most it's pretty much a silver that gives you 3 components. Silvers do not give 3 components. Like strong ones give 2, sometimes even 1. Say like iron asset or like component buffet. Obviously these kind of like give you some sort of like lasting value outside of the component that they give. But at the end of the day, they're giving you 1 component, whereas like, this is giving you 3. So by Krugs, the likelihood that you can spike on Krugs is so high, because at that point you'll just probably have like 5 to 6 makeable items. All of which have some reason, and then you just like build around the board that you choose to like upgrade by then, and then you're sacking most of stage 2, but you don't even have to. Like, yes, the reason why, by the way, I'm talking about like sacking stage 2 is because when you don't have bench slots, it's really difficult to find upgrades, and as I pretty much just talked about like the last 5 minutes, is that like having upgrades is going to be what dictates whether or not you have a strong board or not, right? So because you don't have bench slots, you don't have upgrades, therefore you're unlikely to be strong. But it saves up, like it bottles up all your scaling for stage 3. So yeah, that's pretty much short answer on like over encumbered is completely broken. It looks like, judging by like what Riot has been doing in the patches thus far, it looks like over encumbered is likely to be broken until they remove it out of the game. Because I think eventually they will probably just make it you have no bench slots and get 3 components. Even then, it's still probably broken because you just full stack stage 2 anyway, and same idea, you just play the same way. It was completely broken at 2 bench slots. It's still broken at 1 bench slot. So it's just like thinking about this augment is going to net you some value as you kind of get better, or as you play more TFT, just like throughout the set. These other 2 augments aren't worth talking about. But actually, stationary support here. So, okay. So, like, let me rewind just a little bit. So, loose restriction gives you a lot of items. So, it actually makes over encumbered slightly less good than it otherwise would be, because most of the time, you're going to be able to fill out your items anyway. That being said, it's still so broken that it's not worth rerolling. It's certainly not worth rerolling first. That being said, again, we kind of like rerolled into some other really good options. Unified and stationary support specifically are 2 of the augments that actually kind of like contest with over encumbered as one of the best augments, silver augments on 2-1. So I think either of these you pick is fine. I'm leaning slightly towards unified because of what I just said earlier. Combat augments tend to be pretty strong, but if you want to take stationary, it's also reasonable because same idea as over encumbered. You're like, most of the time you're sacking your early game from your spot because you don't have any upgrades. So then after 8 rounds, you'll be able to spike off your augment, I guess, and then kind of be able to play a game around like whatever you get. Sometimes you'll already have to make a decision by then, but that's also fine. So anyways, all that to talk about augment choice. I mean, augment choice is really important, which is why we have to talk about it.
Right.
Here it's just diamond hands. Short answer, long answer short is that econ is just king here. So most econ ones are broken. Diamond hands is the single best one. This is a little bit of a knowledge gap. If this is not something you know, that's fine. The ones you cannot take are Unending Despair and Deathfire Grasp. Both Suspicious Trenchcoat and Diamond Hands are perfectly acceptable, but Diamond Hands is probably better. Now, the argument for Suspicious Trenchcoat here is actually that in loose description, you're actually likely to see more Warren artifacts, and Suspicious Trenchcoat, I'm just going to say Trenchcoat from now on. Trenchcoat synergizes extremely well with a lot of Warren artifacts. So if you have Trenchcoat and Diamond Hands, for example, it's not likely that you'll get it. But say you do have both of them at the same time, then putting it on one unit can actually generate you it's likely to generate you 4 gold per turn, because each individual Trenchcoat thingy procs Diamond Hands, and then you just have 4 gold out of nowhere. Anyways, but yeah, that's the argument for Trenchcoat. But in general, Diamond Hands, especially from a losing board, you generally want to be just accumulating that econ. Diamond Hands is completely broken here.
Right. I guess I didn't consider taking over encumbered there because I had Zyra pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
But hypothetically, if I took it, am I supposed to roll at like level 6 at 3-2 or?
I think you are likely to roll at 3-2, but it's definitely like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't, like, there's no guarantee that that's the case.
Right.
What we did here is probably just blatantly wrong, just because, once again, this is a knowledge gap probably. DFG sucks. The Firegrass sucks. It's just bad. And it also baits you into slamming a Jewel Gauntlet. Also, like, if you want to make the argument that you're trying to play strongest board, so we're making these, like, we don't have to slam Jewel Gauntlet here. Reason is, our board sucks. So, like, yes, Jewel Gauntlet might kill you a unit here and there, but especially after the damage changes, that's saving you saving you like maybe 1 to 2 HP per turn. And once again, it's a maybe, because sometimes we won't even kill a unit, right?
Right.
Generally speaking, your augment is pretty weak on stage 2 as well, compared to like a lot of stuff other people can be getting. I don't know what people have in this lobby specifically, but there's a lot of there's a lot of augments that are a lot stronger than Unified Resistance 1. So pretty much your reason for slamming is pretty low. Oh yeah, so DFG plus JG, like, I think is a reasonable combo in general, but your options were really good, so there's no reason to be taking DFG here. Making econ, blue, that's fine. We have unified. It's probably worth using it on the Garen, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. I would never play Gnar here. It's just better to make econ. You playing Gnar does not make your board stronger in a way that actually matters. Like, yes, you are stronger. You might kill an extra unit, but it's much better to just make econ and play around the Garen, and then you can play, because like Gnar is the worst warden you could realistically play. I guess it's slightly better than Jax, but like for all intents and purposes, Jax is better because Jax is cheaper, and Alawi and Amumu are like infinitely better than Gnar. So Gnar is not like something you actually have to keep. So it's much better to just play Garen and just make econ. And you sell the rest for 4. Okay, that's what we do. But it's still worth like kind of like talking about the decision about like selling Gnar versus not selling Gnar, playing strongest board versus not playing strongest board. Now we have an Alawi. Okay, so now we actually have a board. So because we won last fight, if you want to make the argument to level this turn, you don't have anything to level 4, so it kind of sucks. But actually, you can just level for a second Alawi. So you can actually level again here for Alawi, and you're very, very strong as a result of that. Because you won last fight, you're ideally trying to win these next 2 fights. We have 3 slams. It's getting to the point where our unified resistance is actually getting pretty strong. So if we have 2 Alawis in the front line, unifying both of them, and then obviously your backline gets it with KL, it's actually really quite strong. So like this augment is like starting to become a real augment, right? So you can actually use that to probably win streak. I would assume you beat this guy. Even on your current board, I'd hope you beat this guy. It's actually unclear. I mean, he's playing a bard. He can't be that strong. Yeah, okay, you need to short up. But you can easily fight someone weaker. I mean, Bruiser's looks correct here, but none of them look good. I mean, they're all gold. It's really bad for you. So after winning the last fight, you have to level this turn, pretty much.
Okay.
It's just too strong. This fight is almost certainly an Alawi diff. You can actually probably win this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Alawi's like that. Okay, the thing is, it's hard to know it's an Alawi diff, but Alawi is that broken. So, like, these 2 frontliners are dead before your other Alawi dies, and then it just becomes your backline. But the thing is, your backline's actually significantly stronger than their backline. Reason is, you have 3 items, and they do not. They have 0 items. Fishbones doesn't count. Fishbones on a Caitlyn 1 counts as 0 items. And you, obviously, this snipe would have never hit your Zara, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's you actually lose a lot of econ for this. It's just not worth grading 40 when you can actually play streak. And also, when you level, you have higher odds at hitting your Alawi pair. So on the previous turn, we actually already had an Alawi pair. If you level for it, like, you have slightly higher odds. It gives you, there's like some value there that like you're not accounting for, and there is some value in like being able to hit a 5 cost because of the 2 cost odds, or 2% odds. It's not something you play for, but the value like still exists regardless of whether or not you're playing for it, right?
Gotcha.
Now we hit. Just play 2. Oh, we don't have to roll. We don't have to roll
Yeah.
loss, but okay. These are extremely broken rolls. Okay, like there's pretty much there's just no reason to roll here. You're wasting a lot of your gold. Like, okay, it's an extreme high roll to hit the Zyra to begin, or this, sorry, to hit this Diana to begin with. But realistically, you roll here, and yes, you can have Zyra too, but it's important to like think about like when you want to spike, right? Like, do we need to spike on 3-1? The answer is no, because 1, we already have this Alawi 2, like we're likely to win anyway. But most of the time, people are pretty weak on 3-1. They're likely to spike on 3-2. So if you want to spike, you ideally wait a turn to reevaluate. Also, you lost your previous fight. Say you were still on a 3 streak. I can understand rolling because then you want to like continue your streak. You want to get a little bit stronger. You do have a Zyra pair, so it's not like you're rolling for nothing. But now we have a Riven pair as well. And then, I mean, this turn, did you have a Diana pair? Oh no, you already had Diana. Wait, did you 1-roll a Diana or did you no roll a Diana? Okay, we won. Okay, rolling once here is pretty reasonable, but like dropping to below 40 is very unreasonable. So like rolling, actually I would not roll once here. It costs you econ 2. Pretty much. Okay, like let me kind of like talk about like how to evaluate whether or not like rolling once or like rolling at all is worth it. Very short thing is that you should probably pick up a Bruiser. So you had correctly identified that Riven is stronger than Sivir. So if Riven is stronger than Sivir, that means very often we're playing 2 Bruiser here, because you're playing Riven plus a Bruiser. So you should just hold one of these, if not both of them. And yeah. Anyways, so we roll here. If we roll once, we drop to 50 gold, which is fine. We don't lose any gold to roll there. But if you pick up any unit at all, then you immediately lose gold. So then therefore it's not correct to roll here. Say you're instead at like 47, so you roll, you go drop to 45. If you pick up, let's say 1 unit or like even 2 units, like a Diana plus a Zyra, which is an extremely high roll shop, then you're still making 40 gold. So you drop from 47 to 40, but 47 and 40 have no diff functionally, assuming you can't make it to 50, right? So like that's like an efficient roll. This is a pretty inefficient roll. Any unit you pick up here will cost you econ, except for, no, almost any unit will cost. Like obviously it does make you stronger, but it also makes it like you don't want to hold Like it allows you to, it makes it so you can't hold certain things. So like certain like one cost you wouldn't be able to hold. Any three, obviously once again any unit you hold loses Yukon, so it's just like it's a really bad turn to roll. If you wait one turn instead to roll, then you go to above 60. This win or loss doesn't really matter that much to you because we lost our previous fight, as I said earlier. And also we'll have 60 gold, so once you're at 60 gold you can roll like 2 to 3 times without dropping to below 50, so you're not like the rolls that you're rolling cost you a lot less. So we rolled like 3-4 times this turn. Let's just say we rolled 4 times, I think. That's 8 gold worth of rolls, but you also lost 2, so you actually lose one entire roll. It's like you rolled 4 times but it costs you 5 rolls. Does that make sense? Or like 5 gold worth of rolls, or 5
Right.
rolls worth of gold.
Right.
So your rolls are like slightly inefficient because of that. If we just did the same thing next turn, I mean, realistically, you should stop right here. Diana is like more than strong enough. If you want to roll one more time, I guess it's acceptable. But like now, you really have to stop. Like now we're like really overrolling, right? Because like Diana, like who's beating you? Who's beating Diana to Lobby 2 on this stage? The answer is no one. Yeah, it's just not happening. Like there's like some very extremely niche scenarios that you can lose, but realistically, you're not losing here. And then we just hold Zara pair, Riven pair. So same idea. So we're holding Zara pair, Riven pair. We're at about 36-ish gold, so like it's okay to roll one more time, kind of, because the unit you pick up won't affect your econ, but at the same time, it's better not to, just because your front lines, like your board is way too strong. Anyways, that's a lot of like a lot of yap to.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I understand. I guess I was trying to look for the Zyra through there.
No, of course.
Kind of got greedy.
It's actually like it's not you're not getting greedy. It's like you're being too not greedy. Like you can like the greed play is to not roll, right? Because then you're accumulating econ, and then you're saying I can hit a Zyra 2 anyway. Road less traveled here is just like it's generally it's really bad augment on 3-2, but your spot actually allows you to go for the. Wait, did you lose last fight? The fuck did you lose to? Okay, my bad.
Eternal Winter, I guess.
I mean, you lost to 5 Faded. Like 5 Faded is one of the things that can beat you. 5 Faded and he's good at items. So, like the real reason why he's actually beating you is just because he's up items on you. You have pretty much you have 3 items on bench. I'm not saying you should slam here because there's nothing to slam, but the real reason is like it's a very close fight. If you have like one tank item, you win for sure. Like one tank item on Alawi, you win for sure. But like, okay, the thing is, if someone can beat you, that makes rolling even worse because like now we rolled and we can't even win. So it's. I mean, you should not be losing this fight. This is like very rare. But yes, Winter Stoneplate 5 Faded Thresh is like very unbeatable on stage 3. I mean, it was still pretty close. Zara 2 would have won. So, but I mean, like even if that like what we're saying is true, is that Zara 2 would have won, and you lost this fight, which is like I'm pretty sure like less than a 10% chance of happening. It's still correct to not continue rolling. It's just yeah. I think 2 healthy is reasonable if you want to play around some sort of like 2 healthy board. I think you have like 3-2 costs on your board. 3-2 costs on your board, 2 healthy is already good enough. It's never Forge here, so you can't use any offensive Forge items, right? You have Bow, Cloak, Belt, which likely makes at least one other offensive item because Bow can only make offensive items. So you actually have a huge overload on offensive items right now. Likely the offensive item you'd be making is Shiv, by the way. Just for clarity, Shiv or Red Buff, the utility ones, because you have 3 non-utility ones on Zara already. So Forge is actually really, really bad here. You can only use frontline items and utility items. Most of the utility items are really bad, and Forge tends to be pretty specific anyway. So a lot of the Forge artifacts are only good on specific setups, and your setup is not demanding anything specific, right? You have very non-specific setup because you're really strong. You can play your mid-game out pretty reasonably, and you have good scaling. With your items have scale really well into late game. So you're looking for like something like a combat augment is much better. So gifts and jewel loaders are much better, but also even road less traveled here is probably better because you already have a Diana on your board. It gives you a Zara 2, so it spikes you really hard immediately. And then 2 healthy, same idea. It spikes you really hard immediately, but will probably scale a little bit worse. But because we're playing Zara and Riven on our board for like the foreseeable future, Nico's really easy to play. And also Janna's really easy to play. So we can actually play 4 2 healthy procs. 2 healthy becomes broken at 3 procs, and it becomes like completely illegal at 4 or 5. Most of the time you're not getting 5, so that's not really worth thinking about. But at 4 procs, it's completely insane. Even at 2 procs in the late game, it's pretty strong. It's not like very, very strong, but it's pretty strong. So yeah, Portal 4 Forge is probably like the only extremely incorrect one here. And as we can see with these items, we got bailed out by Light Shield, but these other 3 are pretty weak. unless there's a very specific. There are specific setups you can play with these three, but for the most part, they're pretty weak.
Right. I guess I was looking for a frontline item here because I didn't have any. So
You don't have a frontline
I
item, but
took it.
you're close to frontline items, right?
Right.
Cloak and belt, especially with encounter, like this encounter can fit you with one. Once again, you're still really strong. I still refuse to believe that you're going to be losing many fights right here. And if you do lose, it's going to be by like very few units. And if you don't lose, it could have been because if you do lose, it could also be because the augment choice you made was incorrect. And also, yeah, so this encounter is likely to give you encounter plus carousel is likely to give you 2 tank items, in which case you are no longer liking tank items, right?
Right. Makes
You
sense.
just put that on Alawi for sure. Econ, that's good. This doesn't do anything. This encounter doesn't do anything. I mean, the encounter is not always going to give you anything good, but like, it is still like worth considering that the encounter can give you something. So we have Zara 2 here. We're not going to lose. Spark, I think you took.
Yep.
I think that's perfectly acceptable. I would probably shy a little bit away from Spark here, just because same idea is that your cloak is your good component, because it makes frontline. But your bow is a terrible component here. So your bow is only red buff or Shiv. So I would probably just make a Shiv and save Cloak for something else. I know Cloak is best in slot Solace and you're probably angling Solace from this point. But
yeah.
Spark is best in slot Solace and you're angling Solace from this point. But like it's just Cloak is so valuable for making any type of frontline item that it's probably slightly better to make Shiv. But I think making Spark is like more than acceptable thing to do. It's just like something that's worth thinking about. But bow belt, likely this is going to make some combination of anti-heal, so either Morello or red buff. Even some fire, in worst case, is probably has to be made here. But it's fine to. I would probably level here for nothing. Like leveling for a Nico that doesn't give you anything is completely fine. You're losing 1 gold, but you're on a streak, and you get better shops. So it's probably better to level here than to not level. Generally speaking, if you're leveling above 40, it's like almost guaranteed to be correct. Especially if you have a reason to do it. So your reason to do it was that, like it literally makes you stronger while you're on a streak, right?
Right.
Aurelia probably has to be played here.
I don't think I played it here.
Aurelia, Alawi is much stronger than Riven and Aatrox. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a strong sport thing. Aurelia is like a 5 cost. 5 costs are broken. Like on early stage 4 and stage 3. So if you see a 5 cost at level 7, very likely you'll be able to play it for strong sport. This is not always true, but Aurelia tends to be one of the stronger ones as well. You can like at the very least give it a couple items. What are your items here? You want to save for anti-heal so it looks like adaptive. It's just adaptive. And then keep bow belt. Glove. We do play double Alawi, that's good. Aatrox is probably stronger than Nico. Ghostly and Arcanist are roughly the same. And Bruiser is like no value, right? You don't lose Heavenly. There's no Heavenly to lose. Also, you just missed Nico 2. If you had Nico 2, it's obviously Nico 2, but we missed it for... I mean, it's fine. Like, missing Nico 2 is also not the biggest deal in the world, but we did miss it. Is Sage Crest better? Sage Emblem is not that good, so maybe... Magic Wand is better. Gives us Morello. I would not even roll here. So so you got weaker, or like you made a side grade. Like you're stronger, but it's not by much. You can probably just fast 9. Here, you're way too strong. Double Alawi is good enough. Like if you want to make this trade out, it's fine, but it's also like fine not to. And then I just play Soraka or Alun. Both are fine. And yeah, you just fast 9.
Right. I feel like
you always have to pick up a Azir when you're playing this comp. One of the strongest units that you can play. So you're like, this is like an extreme overroll. I mean, I'll show you the fight as well. I'm like certain that you would be like more than stable, and also loose subscription gave you a bunch of gold. Okay, so now you're just getting weaker as well. So okay, you're pretty much playing. You're playing with the comp sheet on the other monitor right now. Is your problem? You're getting weaker with every decision you've made on this turn has made you weaker, because the comp sheet told you to play this comp or this build, right? These exact units. We're looking for Morgana. I know we're looking for Salas too. If you just played, like kind of like thinking, okay, how do I make the strongest possible board I can make on this turn? It'd be just like much better, because like we could literally go level 8 right here, and we don't even have to roll a single time. We play Salas and call it a day, and we don't even sell Alawi 2. Because think about how good of a unit Alawi 2 is, and we're just selling it for Aatrox 1. yes, it gives you 4 bruiser, but like Alawi 2 gives your team more than what 4 bruiser gives you, right? Because what is 4 bruiser at the end of the day, right? Like it's just a frontline trait that gives your units more HP. But the thing is, like, Alawi 2 has more HP than what 4 bruiser is giving you, and also has warden, and also Alawi's a broken unit, right? So every pretty much we spent 40 gold to make ourselves weaker this turn. That is completely not okay. So like obviously I'm not trying to do this to shit on you, but it's just like thinking about like what do we actually like what is the goal of like what we're spending our gold on this turn? It's like it's definitely not to get weaker, right? If I told you that you spent 40 gold to get weaker, like you would think about that as like, huh, that's probably not okay, right? So it's just like thinking about how to make your board, like you want to make your board stronger with the lowest amount of gold possible. And in your case, that was just like spending no gold. I mean, playing a Soraka is actually probably the strongest board here. I just play Soraka, hold Silas on bench, and you just make 30. So wait, sell that. Well, actually, I'd sell everything. I would sell your entire bench, 6 gold, pick up 7 gold worth of units. You still make 40, and you have a Silas on bench, play Soraka, and that's your strongest board. Instead, we roll down and end up with a weaker board than we started. And now we're stuck in a kind of like problematic spot where we're encouraged to continue rolling. So now we have a Silas 2, we have a Galio pair, or sorry, Silas pair, Galio pair. So now pretty much for you to have been stronger significantly than what you were before you rolled, you would actually have to hit these guys upgraded. So then now we're stuck in a loop where we might end up donkey rolling. So instead of making 4 gold this turn, we're making 0, which is obviously a problem. I think you probably would have won this fight anyway. This guy's playing bar 2. You won pretty handily. I think swapping out the Alawi for Silas is like perfectly acceptable. It also gives you bruiser, and Silas 1 is, especially last patch, was extremely strong. But in general, like 2-star 3 costs are almost certainly stronger than 1-star 4 costs. So this is the same with like Aphelios 2 and like Ash 1. Aphelios 2 is like stronger than Ash 1 by decent, like assuming 3 items. And also the light shield should just go on Silas. Silas lives the longest. Light shield scales with how long your unit lives for. Galio dies like first or second almost every fight because he taunts and just kills himself. Yeah, so you just want to light shield your Silas and stuff.
Okay.
It's like a perfectly acceptable item, and then you have a Morello, you're probably going for like, I don't know, there's nothing to really go for, probably TG, you just TG Galio. So even here, it's good to recognize that we shouldn't be rolling. We have pairs. Like, we want to roll, but we probably shouldn't be, right? Just because you can hit the exactly Silas probably makes you a lot stronger. I don't think Galio makes you that much stronger, but like, okay, we could have hit and won this fight, but like, okay, kind of like going back to like what I was talking about earlier is that like you lost this fight, but like by a very slim margin, and you lost this fight with rolling. So wouldn't you rather be 50 gold here and have lost the fight probably by the exact same margin because you didn't get any stronger? I'm still arguing that you got weaker, just because like we're playing. I mean, we're playing this guy 1 on our board,
Yeah,
and also Galio 1 also very bad. So I mean, I think we had Story River anyway, right? Yeah, we had Story with Garen. So we had Story, so we didn't even gain our Kale. Yeah. So I think, honestly, you probably could have won this fight if you didn't change your board. But I guess Delisandra actually is pretty good. So maybe you wouldn't have won this fight. But I think it would have been like a comparable loss, like 1 to 2 unit loss, maybe like a 3 to 4 unit loss. But then realistically, that means you're still losing an extra 2 HP anyway, which is like not that real.
Yeah, not worth it.
And then we're just like going 9 with 50 gold. And like pretty much 50 gold, and you're not going to lose every fight, which is like so valuable. So you get to make it to healthy 9. Lose Succession might give you another kind of like influx of gold on the turn of the carousel, and then pretty much from there it's like much easier to win the game.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like after the addition to the XP for going 8 to 9, I never went fast 9 ever again, because every time I try to do it, I just I lose the game.
Well, you're in a high resource galaxy, so it makes it a lot easier. Like Lose Constriction has given you like 40 gold.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's like another thing of like playing around your portal, right? Like, yes, I agree. Like going fast 9, 1 is already like pretty difficult to do, like as a general strategy, especially for like newer players. I'm not saying you're a new player, but like in general, like for newer players, it is harder. But like resource galaxy is kind of like, you know, one of the ways around doing that. So like pretty much, yeah, like you didn't get that much stronger, and like this guy is pretty strong, has a Zaya. I think this honestly might be Fortune Cash Out. Is it Fortune Cash Out? He has 2 Orn items. You have 2? Yeah, he's a Fortune Cash Out, right? Has to be.
It
No,
might
he's
have
not.
been,
He's not.
yeah.
He's not. He's not. He's one support, one Orn, or one support, two support. Wait, how do you have two Orn items? And he has
I think I
zero.
got one from loot
Yeah, but that
subscription.
means he should have one.
I have a. Oh yeah, that's true. No, I think this
Yeah,
is a
where's it?
fortune cash out. Yeah.
No, but where's his Orn item? Oh,
Uh,
it's on Gallia.
Visage. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this guy is fortune cat. Anyways, yeah, so you're not beating this guy. And he's like triple best in slot augments. These augments are literally like if you could choose these augments every single game, you would. Playing last patch Kaisa, and he has his eye already. I mean, this is unbeatable. So like, we would have. I don't think 4-3 changes. Let me go back and watch 4-5 just for clarity's sake. You lost by like nothing, right? Yeah, this is a 1-0. These Saluses don't do damage to you, so this is a 1-0. This is what we call a not a loss, not even a loss in the business. Anyways, yeah. So you pretty much would be in the same spot, but you'd be like well on your way to 9. Obviously, if you have Salus 2, you're winning these fights, right? So like that would have been worth it, but like you have to hit Salus 2. That means like your play only works in the scenario we have Salus 2. I don't think Galio 2, like Galio 2 certainly doesn't win this one. It might win the last fight where you lost by 1-0, but like it's hard to say. I mean, Galio is not that strong of a unit. And once again, then you're still like you're playing for like the 40 gold, hit 3 Galios, 40 gold, hit 3 Galios. Say you have 2 Saluses as well. That's a 20 gold worth of units on your board, so that means you have 10 rolls to hit 3 Galios and or 3 Saluses. It's just very low odds that that's gonna happen. That's under like 30% probably. Maybe it's more than that, but it's definitely not above 50%. And then once again, we're just stuck in this like vicious loop of like having to roll every turn now. So now we're like stuck, like now we can never go 9 until we have like everything upgraded, and then like maybe we can go 9. Also, all of these are bad. What the? I don't even know what to take here. There's no good end. You can take anything, they all suck. Unlucky. By
Yeah.
the way. So something that like I find that you're actually doing really well though is that you're not selling the Zyra. The Zyra is really strong. It's a completely overpowered unit. Yeah, obviously you have like at Morgana 2 I'm imagining you would sell, but even at Morgana 2 you'd probably rather not sell and just have them both until you have a replacement Zyra 2. That has to go in, but that's just APM gap.
Yeah. I got way too dizzy.
So yeah, this is another good thing. You're not getting hard stuck on 4 Bruiser. Like this board is probably if you had at least Soraka 2, this board would be stronger. But the issue with this board is that you can't play Rock-On. I think Rock-On's already stronger than Kale. Like Kale meaning Riven. At 1 star. It's close. Yeah. I mean, Talisman Salus is good, but Talisman Salus 1 is really bad. I think all those so like one of the difficulties of playing this comp is like figuring out exactly what to play in that exact spot. It's really hard. Short answer. But another thing is that you have to be 0 every turn. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs, and at least 4 of them are meaningful. So you just have to be 0 gold here. Oh wait, we sold our Aatrox for no reason. I mean that's not the biggest deal in the world, but you should always buy that. Even if you like pretty much buy that and roll to 0 to see if you want to remake. Okay, so why are we greedy now? So like okay, so what changed between like 3 rounds ago and now that would make you greed? Because in my eyes, it's like if you weren't greeding 3 rounds ago, you definitely shouldn't greed now because you actually have more reasons to roll now than you did back then. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you have more pairs, and you have more pairs, and you're less stable. You're less stable by virtue of the game getting later. Other people are getting stronger, so now you have to like get stronger in response to that. So you actually have more reason to roll. Like before, you were stable on this board because other people were weaker, right? Okay, we just took that. That's really good. Oh, we're going for Zyra 3. I think going for Zyra 3 is fine. It's not costing you much.
Yeah, I mean at this point I was like I don't even think I hit Silas 2.
I mean you
this
at this point you low rolled not having Silas 2, mind you.
Yeah.
But like the thing is like it wouldn't have been a low roll if you pretty much changed the way you set up your game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Just go fast 9 instead.
Yeah, if we were fast 9 and we have 3 items on Rakan and then this is Zyra as a Hoi 2 instead, then now we're not low rolling anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, okay, we should have had a Silas 2, Does your placement get better with the Silas 2? Yeah, you probably top 4. I'm assuming you're dead this turn. I saw the rest of the lobby. They look extremely strong. I assume you're dead this turn. Realistically, if you had Silas 2, are you going like 3rd and 4th? Maybe. I mean, this guy 3rd, I believe, is still the Fortune Cash out. I'm not entirely sure. No. Hold on. Poppy in the Dark is the guy that's Fortune Cash out, right? It doesn't really matter all that much. But, like full, I guess, like full disclosures, you roll. Okay, at this point, by the way, at 1 HP, you have to sell these arrows to just roll.
Right.
Just play for like you're playing for 5th because say this 2 HP guy dies and you die on the same turn, you have a 3-point tiebreaker. It's a huge deal to save a placement. That's obviously only if you hit, but if you don't hit and you die anyway, then it's not like these arrows are doing anything anyway. 4 people, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I don't know if that's something that you probably could have found out before, but like that's another reason not to do, I guess, like what you did. Is that
Right.
it's really hard to hit Silas.
Yeah,
And,
if I scouted better, I could have just yeah.
like figure out like a way to get around the 4 people contesting Silas. Anyways, yeah, that's just. I mean, I yapped a lot this game, but
Okay.
any questions?
Um. I think I'm not sure how to play lose streak anymore in this patch. I feel like every time I lose streak, I just instantly lose the game. I can't tell if I'm supposed to roll a 3-2 anymore or not. Do you have any like maybe advice how to play like a lose streak early game kind of angle?
Okay, so the first kind of answer to that is that lose streak is always worse than win streak. So it's like if you're struggling playing it, it's like that kind of makes sense, right? Um, Another thing is that like, do I have any advice for it specifically? No. I think the advice I have, and it seems like it's like a skill you can work on, kind of like in general, judging by just this game, is that understanding how to roll is a really important kind of like skill to get you set up out of a loss streak. Right? Sometimes with lose streak and it's not your choice, right? Like obviously nobody's choosing to lose streak if they can, right?
Yeah.
Some people are, but whatever. Anyway, like it's not the dominant strategy to do if like if you have a choice. But like the thing is that understanding like your outs when you roll. So when you're rolling on 8, something I saw is like you skipped a 0. So like that's like recognizing it's failure to recognize an out that you probably should have recognized. Another thing is like maybe we're rolling at the wrong times, right? Like I talked about in a lot of spots where like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have rolled in this spot. So it's like that might not be like the case when you're lose streaking, but like what might be the case is that like if I actually roll here, what am I looking to get? Like how can I get stronger here, right? If I like am I actually getting stronger here, right? So it's like asking these questions when you're rolling from a lose streak kind of like angle is really important to like being able to get out of loss streak. Obviously, like other stuff like holding certain pairs, holding certain units, units that like pair really well with your items. Understanding your strongest board, maybe not like in the current turn because you're lose streaking, but like 3-4 turns from now is going to be pretty important. So say you have like a Shojin Morello, then like start holding Shojin Morello units, right? Like I don't know, Zyra, Teemo, Alun. Say you have I don't know tank items, then start holding like say Alawi 1, right? And pairing it or like stuff like that. I don't know, like it's hard like maybe off the top of my head to like if you show me a lose streak spot, I can think about like things we can do in the spot, but like that's different from like kind of like you have to think about it more high level, like how do we get out of a loss streak. Sometimes you just have to sack until 8 because you have no prospects. If you roll, you're fucked because you don't have enough gold to actually reasonably get your board stronger. If you don't roll, I mean you're equally just taking a bunch of damage, so you might as well take the damage and go 8 anyway. But it is a matter of like saving HP, and sometimes you can spike hard enough on 8 that it doesn't matter. Sometimes the game is just doomed. Like you don't hit your opener, you don't hit your mid game, and then at level 8 when you roll down, you don't hit like the comp you're looking for either. So sometimes like it's just variance, but yeah. I hope that kind of helps at least.
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I guess you found this helpful. If obviously you have any more questions, you can feel free to DM me. But otherwise, yeah, I hope. I mean, I hope your climb goes well. It looks like you're pretty close to masters, and you went 1-1 just like right before this coaching session. So I think you're gonna be okay.
Right. Thank you so much for coaching me.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Have a
Good
good
luck.
one. Thanks.